We are back with the second and final part of our analysis of the last chapter for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and in this video we're going to discuss Eivor's final goodbye to Ravensthorpe, or some of the villagers in there at least, the plot twist involving William Miles and Basim in the modern day, a mystery that might involve some upcoming content for Assassin's Creed Mirage, and of course the ending of the last chapter itself. So let's swan dive right in and complete our analysis of the last chapter of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And we pick up where we left off, where after paying her goodbyes to Hytham, King Alfred, Guthrum and Harald Fairhair, Eivor is ready for the final one, the farewell to the Raven clan. Sort of. In fact, we actually find her ready to leave Ravensthorpe without saying goodbye to anyone. This doesn't really make sense for Eivor's character, especially after her speech with Hytham about finding a new family in the Raven clan, and not even considering the countless situations in Valhalla where Eivor bonded with or represented her clan. I honestly expected to see a scene that could mirror and be the opposite to the one at the end of Valhalla's main game, where Eivor gets back to Ravensthorpe and all the clan accepts her as the Jarskona and celebrate her, but alas, that's not the case. I really don't think that the Valhalla writers don't know their own characters, so either I missed something here, or this is possibly a symptom of this quest not getting the budget it actually deserved, where possibly the devs had to make do with what they had. It's a pity, but it is what it is. Still, it is a scene that has its value, and a plot twist one at that, as we'll see. Eivor is caught by Valka as she is readying her ship to leave Ravensthorpe at night. This is meant to be the first leg of her trip towards England, where she is bound to follow the English rivers till London, where a dedicated crew is waiting for her. Valka questions her about this unusual move, and Eivor says that the whole clan knows that she's leaving, so we learn that she told them off screen, but they don't know when that is going to happen. Valka asks whether Randvi knows that she's leaving that night, and Eivor says that she did tell her, so we learn that that happened off screen as well. If only this can also be headcanoned as a heartfelt goodbye in case you romanced Randvi. So basically most things happened off screen, but what doesn't is Valka trying to understand why Eivor is leaving. And that makes sense because Valka, as a seeress, in my opinion, almost always misinterpreted Eivor's retellings of Odin's memories, as she likely didn't know that much about the Isu, even if her mother Svala was a sage herself, so of course she judged all these tales through the lens of a Viking seer. So Eivor tries to tell her that all of her visions were actually memories, her own memories that belong to Odin. And this is where the last chapter couldn't get any clearer. Every vision that Eivor had was actually part of Odin's memories, not consciousness, embedded in her. But Valka can't get it anyway, so Eivor keeps on saying what we established in the first part of this video. As a sage, she seemed to have only two possible futures, two possible solutions to her inner conflict, which also very intentionally represent the usual two choices that Eivor faces every time she sees Odin in the main game. Surrender to her ancient set of memories and behave like Odin, or reject them entirely and behave like her own self. But now that she has finally gotten a full conscience of who she is, whose memories those are and how far they are dating, she is seeing a third way that is trying to learn from them, and to do that she must be alone and leave. Valka finally accepts this, even if she likely doesn't get the full picture, and the two hug before Eivor sails away, stating that she will be guiding Odin for once, meaning that she will go to Vinland of her own will and will extract the knowledge she wants from her own memories at her own pace. And to show that she will be guiding Odin, we actually see a new visual representation of Odin just lying on the ship as Eivor is finally traveling towards London, with Basim almost smiling in a honest way? Not quite sure how to read this. But there's no time for that, cause plot twist, this is where William Miles, the mentor of the assassins in the modern day and father to Desmond, appears within the Animus simulation. And he proves to be ever the smart guy, because at the end of Valhalla's main game, Basim did say he wanted to meet him face to face, and through the Animus technology, which has already been proven to support shared simulations, William can do so without technically lying, but also without putting himself in danger, which is something that Basim seems to appreciate, as he really is getting the meeting of the minds that he asked for. William lays it bare, saying that Basim hibernated and was resurrected, which technically is incorrect, as far as we know, Basim never died but was somehow kept alive by the Yggdrasil machine before the staff of Hermes was able to cure him and bring him back to his original shape. William asks why Basim is back into a simulation after staying in another one for 1,000 years, and Basim answers that he wished to see how his quote-unquote friend Eivor and her story ended, which we know is mostly a lie. His sole plan was to analyze Eivor's genetic material to gain access to her memories, skills and secrets, though a sort of respect might have also arisen within Basim at some point. William does show he's worried or maybe even afraid of what Basim might do now that he has accomplished his plan and he's out in the open, but Basim seems to try and calm him down, as even after all these years, he does say he is cherishing the Assassin's Creed, he is supporting the Assassins. Of course, this could be another lie, he could be using the Assassins for his own purposes like he used the Hidden Ones back in the 9th century, it wouldn't be the first time anyway. But as much as that may be the case, I do believe he's being honest, because of what sages ultimately are, and especially because of what this sage is. So here, as in every other occasion, it is Basim himself talking and saying that he cherishes the creed. Moreover, Basim specifically is a sage that has come to a quote-unquote mutual understanding with the Loki side of him, which we said could mean that sometimes Basim lets his own personality come out, and some other times it might be Loki's, or even both, and I do believe that there's a lot of the original Basim here, which also prompts me to reinterpret the ending of Valhalla's main game. When he said, "It's time to take the fight to these Templars," maybe he truly meant that, even though he might have also had a second intent. But Basim in the last chapter seems prone on helping the assassins way more than expected. He defines them as infants compared to those he left behind, and I wonder if he's referring to the Hidden Ones he left behind being more advanced in their approach and warfare against the Templars, or if he's actually talking about the Isu that Loki in his memories left behind, who of course would be way more advanced than the humans in general. Whatever the case, he wants to quote-unquote get the assassins up to speed, but William stops him and even asks for a favor, which amuses Basim, as superior as he feels in this moment, so much so that he decides to comply. The request, which happens off-screen, is simple. Get a sample of Basim's DNA and sequence it for the assassins to study and analyze his memories, which of course provides a first justification as to why we are going to witness Basim's memories in Assassin's Creed Mirage, and also shows how the modern day protagonist, if there's any, is likely not going to be Basim himself. So like I said, Basim complies. He extracts some of his blood and places it in an Abstergo sequencer of sorts, and because, as it was shown in the past, many Abstergo devices are connected to the various Abstergo networks, I wouldn't even rule out that the Templars might snuff out Basim's genetic memories, and that Mirage could see the Templars analyze his story in 861 AD, which would also sort of justify that French-only promo video from Paris Games Week 2022 that shows Abstergo being very interested in finding more about Basim and his story. So the computer confirms the extraction of Basim's genetic memories has started, and the estimated sequencing time is 29 days, 3 hours and 4 minutes, such a specific timing that got many fans on a theory spree, trying to understand if these numbers were supposed to actually mean something. Some thought it could mean a release date for the game, like 29th of April of 2023, some would say it's just an in-lore number, I'm more aligned with the fans that believe that 29 days, 3 hours and 4 minutes is the time between the release of the last chapter and something connected to Mirage, which could not, of course, be the release date of the game, but maybe either the coveted gameplay showcase that fans have been asking for 3 months now, or a first look trailer showing glimpses of Mirage in-game, as it was the case with Valhalla. Both scenarios would also make sense in a way because we haven't seen any gameplay yet, so once Basim's DNA is sequenced in lore, his genetic memories will be visible, meaning that we too as fans will be able to see them when the time comes. I also believe that the sudden and unannounced anticipation of the release date of the last chapter might have been caused by this. If this gameplay trailer, if it had been deemed ready 1 week earlier than scheduled, then of course the team would have had to anticipate the last chapter 1 week to make the riddle work. So if the original date for the last chapter was meant to be December the 6th, with the usual 2 PM CEST release time for updates, then adding 29 days, 3 hours and 4 minutes, the original potential release date for this new Mirage content would have been January the 4th at roughly 5 PM CEST. Now that the last chapter has been moved up to November the 29th, the new potential release date for the content would be December the 28th. So will that be the day when we finally can see some gameplay footage of Mirage now that Valhalla has been completed? We shall wait and see, but the last chapter story isn't over yet. In fact, after reveling in how much work William and the assassins will have to do with his DNA, Basim walks outside the cabin and has a final vision, which I'd imagine is some sort of bleeding effect from his time in the Animus. He sees Eivor and Odin in her mind again and sees them here, in Maine, close to Concord, so very close to the Grand Temple and Eivor's burial site, and they are dressed in local traveler clothes for her and the classic original Odin outfit for him. The implication here is obviously that Eivor's voyage eventually took her back to England, where she spent her final days trying to learn about the Isu Odin and the first civilization in general. Basim's vision shows exactly that, a bit of Eivor's learning, again dramatized as if she was actually talking to Odin, where she acquires the knowledge that what she knows as Ragnarok was an actual cataclysm that happened during the Isu era, which we know as the Toba catastrophe. Odin's memories reveal that this catastrophe caused earthquakes and storms, famine and wars, and that the Isu died as the humans started growing in numbers. By the way, this also confirms, if we actually needed it, that the Isu went at war before and after the Toba catastrophe. And as for the final question that we witness, Eivor asks what really caused the cataclysm if there were no gods and no magic, and Odin's memories have her learn what a solar flare is, and that was the actual, real reason behind the Toba catastrophe, before we finally cut to the title screen, which also leads us to the end of this analysis. And honestly, I did enjoy the last chapter for what it is, a small, intimate conclusion for Eivor's story, which opens up a number of questions or doubts, likely generated by its small scope and I would imagine small budget, like for example, why Eivor left Ravensthorpe without actually saying goodbye to its villagers, or why did Eivor travel specifically to England, even though the implication is pretty obvious that it has something to do with the Grand Temple. I know that not everybody liked it to its fullest, but I did enjoy it not only for what it is, but also for the tiny little touches and references to the main game and the various characters, and of course, the final plot twist with William Miles and the teaser for the future Assassin's Creed Mirage content, whatever that will be. And if you'd like to know more about Mirage, you can have a look at this video in order to get properly ready for when the new content drops. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next video.